A lot of the talk this offseason was about how the Pistons were going to be able to have a functional half-court offense this upcoming year, and to start the year, it wasn't looking too great. But after a great game against the Orlando Magic, all those concerns resolved. We'll talk about today's episode, Locked On Pistons Podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Khahil. You can find me over on Twitter at Khahil. I've been covering the Detroit Pistons for the last 4 years for the Locked On Network, been a credential media member over the last 3 years, and I appreciate all of you guys who make Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started today. Check out the links down below for the playback room to watch live Pistons games with me, my guest here, Matt, and the rest of the Pistons fan base. And also check out the links down below for the Substack and get 50% off a subscription to the Substack, just $3 a month. That offer runs out on November 6th, so make sure you check that out before it's too late. But as I said, I am joined by friend of the podcast, Matt Griffin. He joins us, obviously, over on the watch parties as well. And we're going to talk about today the half-court offense and how well it looked, or how good it looked against the Orlando Magic. Cade finally shows up and looks like the superstar and franchise player we expected. We talk about how he played and whether he changed maybe the way he played in this game. Maybe there's a way he can change moving forward that makes him a little bit more efficient. We'll just talk about Cade's offensive game and really how great he was defensively in this game as well. Coming up. And then also Ausar Thompson and Jalen Duran are seeing their usage increased within the half court. Is that a good thing, bad thing? We'll talk about it all. But let's go ahead and get into it, Matt. I'll start it off here. I want to read these stats out, and then I'll let you go. The Pistons scored 1.13 points per possession last night against the Orlando Magic in the half court. Now, you guys may be hearing that and be like, okay, what does that mean? Well, the best half-court team in the NBA this year is the Denver Nuggets at 1.11 points per possession. So the Pistons were scoring at a clip that not even the best team in the NBA was able to reach. Now, obviously, they're not going to continue to score like that, but that just shows how well their half-court offense was clicking in this game. Before that game, they scored just 0.89 points per possession. So it was a major jump last night. Matt, I want to hear from you. What do you think was the biggest reason why we saw them play so much better in the half court last night?
Well, I think Cade's aggression was pretty notable, especially kind of late into the first quarter. I felt like he started to tick up, and then it just kept ticking up. But I don't know. Cade obviously played his best game of the season by a lot. One of the best games of his career, but it wasn't just him. Obviously, Duncan hitting shots is a major key to this team being good. He's by far our best shooter right now. We just lack that at such a ridiculous level that anytime Duncan kind of has a stinker, the offense is really starting from behind, so to speak. Tobias played really well, obviously. I don't know that there was anything like principled that felt super different to me, Koo. I just felt like the players played better.
My mic was muted. My fault. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. When Cade is going to make shots in the first 4 games, obviously a lot of the half-court offense was weighed down a ton from the fact that Cade just wasn't playing well. He wasn't shooting the ball well. He wasn't finishing very well. He was turning the ball over like crazy. Last night, probably the most important stat Cade had, over the 30 points, over the 10 assists, over all of that. Maybe not overall that. Let me not go too far, but it was pretty damn important, is the fact that he had 0 turnovers in this game. And that's coming off of the previous 2 games where he had 13 plus turnovers combined over those games. So he was making shots. He was getting to the basket. He was finishing in the paint, which is something we're going to talk about later. I want to bring up in Cade's game. But he was playing a lot better in this game. So when your best player plays good, obviously your half-court offense are going to look a little better. But I want to stay with the Duncan Robinson piece. You mentioned that you didn't really see anything different. Did you see anything maybe different from how they utilized Duncan or how he played? Did you feel like that he was looking like he was maybe getting more accustomed, or was it just for you, he's just hitting open shots? There was nothing really different.
I mean, not necessarily just open shots, even hitting movement shots, which I feel like are the ones that he's been missing early in the season. When Duncan's had a standstill open 3, I feel like it's gone in. It's essentially a layup for him. But I don't know. I see a lot of people are like, at least early in the season, kind of maybe question his aggressiveness a little bit or say, hey, yesterday, Duncan kind of finally broke out of his shell. I mean, Duncan was fire in game 3 too. You know, this was not the first game 4. Game 4. Duncan, like, Duncan's been firing for a couple games, so I don't know if it's that different, man. Like, shooters, it just feels so silly to kind of write off a shooter early in the season just because, I mean, that's just how it goes, man. It's just so up and we saw with Malik last year. We saw with Tim Hardaway last year. No shooter is that consistent, right? I mean, unless you're really talking about like the Steph Currys of the world. But I mean, those guys are so good that you're asking them to take such tough shots that they're not going to be very consistent anyway. Um, so, no, did you feel like there was something different with their utilization of Duncan? I guess I didn't notice it.
No, I didn't. I don't think I noticed anything really different. I did notice the movement shooting. I feel like there was one shot he hit from the right wing coming off a movement, an off ball screen at the top of the key. I hadn't seen that um in the previous games, but mostly I think he was just hitting shots in this game. I don't think it was anything really crazy. I feel like he's getting more comfortable with his teammates. I do still think his teammates need to get more comfortable with him and how much he moves. I think that will lead to even more efficiency in the half court. I don't think they've accustomed to that yet. They're not used to somebody who continues to move nonstop, even when they give the ball up. So I think they need to get accustomed to that. But I agree. If Duncan's going to hit shots, your offense is going to be better, obviously. And I think a lot of the spacing concerns, let's move to that. Do you believe this team has spacing concerns? Because I said yesterday on the podcast, I don't really think they have spacing concerns unless you throw a lineup out there that's just, obviously has no spacing. This lineup that Cade's playing with in the starting lineup is basically the same lineup he played with or more than half of last year. He played with Ausar and Duran for more than half the year, and they were exceptional. They were fantastic after January, and they just had THA in place of Duncan. It wasn't like they replaced THA with another non-shooter. So I don't think this team really has spacing concerns, even though that's something I've seen in the community people talk about. Do you think that this team has some spacing concerns, or are you in agreement with me?
I think that the spacing concerns definitely exist when Cade goes to the bench. Like when Ausar is your primary ball handler, and you a lot of times like maybe it is Jalen Duran on the floor, or even if it is Isaiah Stewart who is making shots and playing phenomenal basketball early in the season. Would I call him a spacer quite yet? Probably not. But it's like when you have Ausar and Ron Holland and like a Javante Green in the game or something. Like yeah, the spacing can get a little bit cramped, no doubt. But the other thing is that I mean I feel like one, spacing is not just shooting, right? Like you can play like Duran provides spacing in a sense. He provides vertical spacing. You have to worry about him at the rim. You have to keep a body on him at the rim, or else he'll get an offensive rebound. Or obviously he's always a lob threat. And Duran even has gravity like as a roller. I mean, teams are tagging. I feel like so hard on him to take away that lob that was so effective last year. I feel like the Knicks kind of put out the meta against us in that sense. And everybody's kind of clicked into that we've played against, but no, the spacing always feels like it's becoming a little. Basically, every NBA team has good enough spacing, I think, for players to like play good. Maybe not like the Mavericks, I guess, or some of the lineups that Houston runs. But even the Houston spacing concerns, it's like Steven Adams is the same thing. Like you have to keep a body on Steven Adams. He's not ruined. Steven Adams helps your spacing. Like he doesn't hurt it. So um, I feel like it's become a little bit of an excuse. Like we've gotten to a point here where I think that we kind of know how a lot of players are going to be utilized, and we know what lineups kind of work together. It's not super often that I look at a context and think like, man, this guy just has no chance to succeed. There's really no space on the floor, or like nothing that they can do to open up driving lanes.
Yeah, and I think another thing that we've seen, just to stay on the whole spacing talk, is that this is something that Ausar, he didn't do it much these past 2 games. And by the way, I just want to let you guys know, I was the only one who pointed out that Ausar looked clearly sick when I was at the game on the bench. He went to the locker room. I didn't see no one even mention it. He looked clearly sick to me on the bench. I mentioned it, and people thought that I was just making something up. And then we find out a day later that he was sick and he was questionable because of how sick he was. So I just want to let everyone know about that. But before he started, it feel like I mean, this past game I didn't think he played bad, but my point is that we're seeing Ausar attack. We've talked about this, I believe, on the live stream. Ausar has been attacking through the catch, chasing through the ball when he gets a kick out, and I know he's taken a few catch and shoot threes. He hit 1 of 3 this last game. He low key take it, but he chases through the ball, and that kind of creates he's taking advantage of space and eating up that space and forces teams to not have to pay attention to him as a cutter, pay attention to him as a driver. And I think that helps as well within the half court. I think the Pistons have the ingredients to not be an awful half-court offense. Like, they should not be as bad as they were. I'm not saying they should be a top 10 half-court offense. We'll see where they get to. But I think they have the ingredients this year with what we're about to talk about throughout the podcast to be a better half-court offense than they were last year. Last year, they were a bottom 10 half-court offense. I don't think that should be the case this year. I think they have the ingredients to be better than that. Matt, here's something that I want to bring up to you, and then this will segue into – actually, do you I might save this stat for – I might not reveal this stat yet. Should I reveal this stat yet? I don't know if I should. We'll hold it. I have the stat pulled up. I have you muted. Hold on. What were we saying? Go ahead.
I was just conversating like how podcasts go, you know? And I was saying, like,
well, you know, Matt is on everybody is on his phone again because he's yet to get a laptop. So the whole conversation back.
Understand something also, everybody, that Koo knows this is the situation that I'm in right here, and he keeps being like, "Yo, you should come on the pod, man. You gotta come on the pod tonight, man." And what
I like chopping it up, bro.
I like coming on the pod. I like talking basketball. I like connecting with the Locked On Pistons fan base and Koo, of course. And so I'm going to say yes, and I like to help out. But then when I get in here and he's like, man, you got to get a laptop, man. Like, this is bad. I know. I get it. Trust me. I'm the one. I live without a laptop. I live without a computer right now. So am I the first Locked On Pistons guest to join in through the phone? Probably not. I am probably the first Locked On Pistons guest, though, to join in sitting crisscross applesauce.
with a brick background, by the way, everybody.
I'm coming to you live and direct from the house that Paolo Banchero built. If the guys who are watching on YouTube know. Quick aside, Koo has been on a Paolo Banchero hate spree here for like probably a month or so. Understand something, Locked On Pistons fan base. Koo was calling me a Paolo hater like 3 months ago. It's like, no, man, you just hate everybody. You just hate all scorers, man. You just hate everybody that just goes and gets a bucket. And then fast forward 4 games later, and Koo agrees that Paolo, isn't very good.
I had to do my own digging and do my own research. But listen, Matt goes. The thing is that Matt goes too far. Matt is like the extreme of everything. I mean, every opinion Matt has is the extremist. But okay, coming up, we're going to talk about Cade finally having a great game. Did we see anything different in how he played in this game? And is there anything we'd like to see the Pistons change about how they utilize him within the half court offensively? Is there a better way to use him? We'll talk about it all, break it all down coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win, and not just on one game day, every day. Locking on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again, channeling that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, so expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move with Robinhood. Then I got to tell you guys about another one of our sponsors, one of my favorites, DoorDash. The NBA season is heating up, and we've already had multiple 50-point games in this NBA season. It's only been like a week and a half into the season. You're going to see why that's important with DoorDash. Whether you're watching for the highlights, your fantasy team, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes every game night even better. And you're probably wondering, well, how do they do that? Why should I care about that if a team or a player scores 50 points? Well, every time an NBA player scores 50 points in the game, DoorDash drops 50% off your order with Dash Pass the next day, and you're automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag. We're talking player-inspired drip, exclusive gear, and stuff you'll actually want. So next time someone goes off for 50, use code NBA50 the next day to get 50% off on DoorDash with the Dash Pass, plus your shot at the bag drop. My God, that's a lot of S's. Dash Pass members only 50% off up to $10 a day after a 50-point game with promo code. Terms apply. No purchase necessary. Ends April 13th. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Visit DoorDashInYourBag.com for full details. DoorDash in your bag all season long. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Hit that subscribe button. Check out all the links down below, playback, Substack, all that good stuff. Matt, I don't know if you are I know you're a Lions fan, but I don't know how long you've necessarily been a Lions fan. You know, you're a little bit younger than me, you know, you feel me? So we have him muted right now, so you can't really respond to this. So we're just going to keep going. I don't know if you guys have seen like the Matthew Stafford commercial he recorded like maybe 6 years ago, and they got leaked out after he got traded, where he's having to say a bunch of F's over and over and over again. He just stops. He's like, oh my God, that's a lot of F's, whatever. That's how I feel when I read the DoorDash ad. The DoorDash ad just has it's really challenging me. It's giving me a lot of S's in there, a lot of back to back S's. It's a lot for me. It's a lot.
I mean, the job of a podcast host is just so hard, man. I'm sorry to hear about.
It is.
I'm sorry to hear
so
about
stressful.
the struggles that you go through trying to pronounce all those S's in the DoorDash ads. There's people listening to this in the coal mines right now that are pouring one out.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. All right. So Cade had his best game of the year this past game, 30 points, an efficient 30 points, still not hitting very many threes, 1 of 7 from deep, but it didn't matter. He did a very good job, I thought, picking his spots, getting to his spots in the half court, creating for his teammates, not turning the ball over, handling the traps really well. JB talked about after the game that they try to move away a little bit from pick and roll and try to go more into isolation so he didn't have to face multiple bodies, and that seemed to work out in the second half. Matt, is there anything that you saw different? Maybe it is that. Maybe that jumped out to you that he moved into the isolation a little bit more, but is there anything different than you saw from how Cade played in this game to the earlier games? Or again, is it like the Duncan Robinson situation where it's just like he was just hitting shots and that's the difference?
Man, I feel like sometimes I watch Cade play, and I love Cade, but like the aggressiveness, it feels like it kind of teeters sometimes. And like he has point guard brain, which is good, and I like that. Like I wish I remember who tweeted it because it was a great tweet, and I'm glad that they pointed it out. But Cade had 2-and-1s in a row, got a switch on to Wendell Carter, but pulled it back out and got a stew the ball because he had a mismatch in the post, like that type of thing. You know, a lot of score first guards wouldn't do that, right? But I feel like I just wish I wish I sat behind the bench so that I could remind Cade how much stronger he is than 95% of the guards in the league. And I feel like yesterday that was on display almost as much as anything. And I feel like that, like him understanding how much of an advantage it is for him to be so big and so brolic, and his shoulders to be so wide, and how advantageous that can be around the rim. It feels like that has been like the core piece of what has made him better. Like going from 2 years ago to last year, and then hopefully into this year, that and jump shooting, obviously. So, I mean, I felt like yesterday, like there was just more of a emphasis, or more of a, he just was hitting the turbo button a little bit more. He ran halfback dive a couple times. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like he was trying to, like sometimes he's Trey Jones for 6 minutes, and it's like, you don't have to do that. Trey Jones playing good. I should have said Tyus Jones. Sorry.
Yeah, Tyus is not playing very well. I think I'm in a group chat and someone said this. I think either someone in the group chat said this or I saw this tweet as well. I mentioned this on the podcast yesterday that someone said, like, when Cade decides to stop playing like CP3 and instead play like Jason Tatum, he's so much better. And I completely agree. When he realizes, because you're right, he has this point guard mentality. He wants to let his teammates get into the flow. He wants to get his teammates involved into the game. You know, he wants to do all of that stuff. And it's at times, obviously, that you like the fact that he has that. But I feel like at times when he realizes I'm 6'7", 6'8", 6'7", you feel me? 6'7" or 6'8", and much stronger than everybody else, basically that's probably guarding him, especially at the guard position. He can just get to the basket every single time. And while he shot 1 of 7 yesterday from beyond the arc, it didn't matter. He said an efficient night because he was just bullying them at the basket. He was going to the post more. I asked him about this after the game, about him going to the post more. He said it's definitely something that he wants to continue using, but he's not going to predetermine it, and he'll pick his spots. I think the team should like draw that up to multiple looks again. It shouldn't just rely upon Cade hunting it out. That should be something that gets drawn up in a play that's called multiple times throughout a game. Cade posting up smaller guards. That shouldn't be just something Cade relies on finding himself because he's so good at it. He got so many looks in the second half of him. Like JB mentioned that he went to the isolation. It wasn't like Cade went ISO. It was jab, cross, tween. It was, he got the mismatch, ISO'd out, cleared it out, and then put his back to the guy and just started backing him down and just overpowered him. Like, he's so good in that area. He had a hook shot from damn near the free throw line. That's how good his touch is on these hook shots. And when he goes to that, I think he's just so good and so unstoppable offensively when he goes to that. Obviously he had some really nice drives, some really good moves. He had a spin move on Franz that was just nasty. He had another dribble move, cross drive on Paolo that was nasty as well. He had some tough finishes. There's sometimes as well with Cade, by the way. I do just want to make this clear, actually, before we keep going. Everyone, I don't think me or Matt or anyone really was at all concerned about Cade. Cade was obviously going to be good. Like, he just had a rough opening 4 games. I just want to say, it felt like after Paolo started talking trash in that second quarter to him and Tobias, like, he completely changed his aggression. And I saw him going, like, to the rim and finishing at the rim, exploding at the rim. Like, he was using every bit of athleticism. He had some finishes where his hands at the top of the top of the square. Like, I don't know. It feels like sometimes Cade doesn't utilize the athleticism that he does have, like, around the rim. Sometimes it feels like he like chooses to be a below the rim finisher when he doesn't have to be. I don't know. Do you feel the same way?
I don't know. I think that makes sense in theory, but it's like, why would you ever do that if you could get up? And so that makes me think, like, hey, maybe when he is in traffic, it's a little bit tougher for him to get the same explosion that you see when he is, in the open floor. But to all the other points, I think I do totally agree. And like you said, like, that game did become kind of heated, which was great. And it feels like the Magic are like a very clear, like, hey, they could be a rival of ours, like, going forward, right? Once, they actually start giving their best player the ball and have a chance to win some playoff series and stuff like that. I think, like, these could be some fun games. So it was fun to watch. You're right. And Cade's been good. I think anybody worried about Cade, I think that there's a some sort of line where it's like, there are absolutely holes to poke in Cade's game. Like, Cade is not perfect whatsoever. Like, he is a pretty flawed player. We ask him to do, I say pretty flawed, like, obviously he's also an all-NBA player, but, like, we ask him to do a lot, and so some of those flaws start to, like, poke out a little bit, and, like, maybe the jump shooting is really good to really good, maybe not, like, great to elite, the finishing, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know what's elite, so to speak, but he's just such a jack of all trades, and I'm excited for the time when it doesn't feel like Cade has to put us on his back all the time to an extent, like, at least offensively, because I know we win games defensively sometimes, and we can have Cade's back in that way, but it would be nice if there were nights where, it wasn't just like a Malik Beasley or a Duncan Robinson getting hot from 3, and, like, that's the most help that Cade kind of ever has on offense. It'd be sick if one of these guys, and it might be Ron Holland, if one of these guys became somebody that you could say, hey, he's probably going to get us 20 plus, 2 of the next 4 games.
Yeah, and something with Cade I've mentioned multiple times, and it's why Cade is so much different than a lot of the other quote unquote franchise players across the league, is that we saw in this game, Cade had 3 blocks and 3 steals. There's not many franchise players in the league that are able to be your engine, your creator of everything offensively, and then go on the defensive end and make the plays he was making yesterday. Like, there's not very many guys that can do both. He's able to do these things defensively. The Pistons are a great defensive team because they have Ausar, because they have Stu. But Cade certainly plays into that. Having your best player be a good defender, having your best player be an impact defender, that allows you to have that kind of team build. So Cade's great. He's going to be an all-NBA guy this year. Everyone knows how much I love Cade, but it was a rough start to the year. He came out in this game against Orlando. He was hitting his shots. He really seemed to get riled up once Paolo started talking trash and really took it to him. What he started to do with them in the second half was just nasty. What he was doing go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, the rile up portion of it, it's like that plays a piece into how well Cade played, because, I mean, anybody who played sports growing up probably, like, has had the feeling of, like the Cade's physicality ramped up. It's not just that, like, he started playing better. Like we talked about earlier, he started playing more physical. He was getting downhill. He was throwing his shoulder into guys, like you said, backing people down, like, calling his own number in a different way. Because it's one thing for Cade to kind of, have an empty side or something like that and just, get into his bag and take one of his mid-range jumpers. And a lot of times, that's not a bad shot. I'm not saying that it is, but it's not as good as getting to the rim. And so, like, it feels like something like a switch flipping on in that way. It's like, okay, how can we always have that switch? Obviously, you can't always dial it up to 100%. That's just not how the human brain works. You cannot always play at your most physical. You're not always going to play angry. You can't always play angry. But how can we just play angrier? I just want to play angrier. I think that would be unbelievable. That would show a lot of returns, I guess I'm saying, like more than you would think.
So this is the stat. We'll use this stat to segue into the next section or the next segment. You kind of mentioned this earlier that you wish, actually in the first segment, you kind of mentioned that, how they look, we mentioned some other ball handlers, etc. And then you kind of mentioned just now, like when Cade's, you didn't mention Cade off the floor, but kind of someone else picking up the slack for Cade offensively where he doesn't have to do it all himself and that someone else play, etc., etc. I just want to give you guys this stat, and this will segue into the next segment. We're going to talk about Jalen Duran and Ausar Thompson's increased usage. I just want to say this stat. And it's only 5-game sample, so I'm not saying to read into it too much at all because it's very small sample. But 98 minutes, Cade and Ausar together on the floor, plus 0.24. Cade without Ausar, plus 5.0. Ausar without Cade, plus 4.1. We'll dive into that. I just want to get what you think about these numbers, and if there's anything to read into this, we'll talk about it, along with Jalen Duran's increased usage, really helping with the half-court offense as well coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game and want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And again, new customers will get $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com, sign up, play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Another great way to support the podcast. So let's go back to those stats I just read out. I want to make it clear. I just wanted to tease you guys a little bit of what we were going to talk about. I want to make it clear. The Cade and Ausar numbers together being only plus 0.24 is heavily impacted by the fact that Cade was not hitting shots the first 4 games and Duncan was not hitting shots the first 4 games. Heavily impacted by that. They're still positive on the floor. They will eventually be a heavy positive, I believe. That's, it's a very small sample size. 1 game can sway it. So that's why I don't want to read too crazy into it. The reason why I bring it up, though, is that, Matt, you kind of mentioned earlier, like having different ball handlers or different guys that can do things. We're seeing Ausar Thompson get the ball more and be that point guard, especially when Cade's off the floor. And in the preseason, it was some ups, there were some downs, it is what it is. But as the regular season's played on, I think he's looked better than anyone possibly could have expected him at running the show and being a point guard. He has, I think, 5 turnovers total on the year, 1 per game. He's not turning the ball over. He's handling pressure very well, bringing the ball up the floor. He's not struggling getting the ball into the half-court setting. I like how he's getting downhill. He's being ultra aggressive. I think that's really going to help the half-court offense. I think it's already helping the half-court offense. We're going to talk about this with Jalen Duran as well in just a minute, but I want to get your thoughts, Matt. What do you like what you're seeing from Ausar and how the team is utilizing him as a ball handler?
Yeah, I've liked it. I think it's gone up probably about as well as you could expect, right? I thought it's looked better than I thought it did in the preseason. I'll say that, right? I did feel like last year I was on the Ausar point guard train heavy. And then after preseason this year, I was like, I don't know. The handle's like a little bit flaky. Is he going to be aggressive enough? Is he going to work out? Or is this just going to kind of become another stagnant offense where we're always hoping that we're going to transition all the time? And obviously you still wish that we ran in transition more. One easy way to make sure that you never are running in transition is fouling all the time, because whether they miss a free throw or they make a free throw, they're probably going to be able to set their defense. Anyway, But I do like how Ausar has played. The aggressiveness has been so awesome to me, man, because I think that was like, that is still question number one, I think, or at least heading into the season, it still felt like question number one about Ausar Thompson's offense. Because to me, I mean, I don't know. The 3-point jump shot is just something, I've said it on here, it's just something I'm assuming is not going to happen for Ausar or his brother, frankly. But that he feels comfortable not only getting downhill more because like that he just looks like a much better driver than he did last year and the handle does look tighter, but that he does feel a little bit more confident, a little bit more aggressive getting into like as a shot creator, as a shot maker, like under the free throw line, like just his game in that sense in general, because he is going to need something other than just the rim, obviously. So if he's going to feel good about like taking some of those fallaways from 11, 12 feet, he's going to be really tough to guard. Yesterday, obviously, they didn't all go in, and the field goal percentage wasn't great. But the tip-ins, we got to give him some grace for the tip-ins. He missed like 3 tip-ins.
Look, Locked On Pistons is. Let me go ahead and say it now. Locked On Pistons is making their request. I'm putting it out. The one hand swipes at the ball around the rim should not count as shot attempts, bro. They just can't. We can't get, like, bro. You know how many times he had? I think 3 misses in the first quarter just off him trying to tap the ball at the rim and then count as misses. Like, bro, are those really? Should we really count those as missed layups in the half court synergy? Like, is that really something we should be counting as? Like, come on, bro. I don't feel like that. It has to be. I know I'm kind of joking a little bit, but also kind of being serious a little bit. But go ahead, keep going.
First they came for the heaves, and I said nothing. No, you're right. You're right. I don't think that you're wrong. Well, like the thing is, and Koo made the point about the tip-ins yesterday to me, like, oh, it's killing his field goal percentage. But we're getting offensive rebounds, and those are kind of fake offensive rebounds. So it's a balance. It's a balance. We miss a fake field goal, but we get a fake offensive rebound. I think the spreadsheets prefer the offensive rebound. So you know where my heart lies. I'll take Ausar getting the fake rebounds. But I've been so thrilled. Oh, by the way, did you read the piece today? The Players Tribune that he dropped? That was awesome.
Thank you for bringing that up. That was awesome. It was awesome. If you guys haven't read it, it was a fantastic read from Ausar. He wrote, really just spoke about everything he went through. Not really everything he went through, but kind of, you know, the grind of the season that was hell a few years ago, having to sit out his rookie year at the end, having to go through it in the off season, you know, getting to the like. It was a fantastic read from Ausar.
Yeah, he said, he was like, we were 2-29, and I realized we had 50 games left, and I was like, oh my god, that would be so horrible, dude. Imagine being 2-29. It's like, yeah, 50 more of these. That's brutal. But yeah, it was a great piece. I don't know. I've just been very pleased. He's obviously been my guy since we drafted him. I wanted us to draft him super bad. It's still like the only article I've really ever written was please draft Ausar Thompson. Here's all the reasons why. By the way, if you go back and read that, if you can find it, it wouldn't be that hard to find, I don't think. I talk all about how it's like, man, he's just going to make us transition demons. He's just going to make us the fastest team in the league, and that is kind of what he does. I guess not up to this point this year, but yeah, he's been phenomenal. And I know that we're about to talk about Jalen Duran, but I feel good about the tertiary pieces is the thing. Like, Duran is just so up and down. There was a stat from Dino, something like that. Oh my gosh, I
think it's Dean on Draft.
No, not Dean on Draft. He works for the Raptors now, so he's not posting anymore. I'm pretty sure.
Is it Dean Oliver?
Maybe, yeah. Is he like the net rating guy or something?
Yeah.
Okay,
I know what stat you're talking about.
Yeah, and it was like the player, like Jalen Duran is one of like the 3 most inconsistent players, meaning that he has great games and bad games. Like, he is one of the guys that like has the most great games and the most bad games, the most difference between, like, I guess, I don't know, however he calculates that. But it added up. I think that is what I've seen. Me and Koo have spent so much time talking about Jalen Duran. It's like, it is just such a yin and yang, a give and go, a pull, a give and pull. But I don't know how you can watch like the things that he is capable of as a 21-year-old center and not be just over the moon excited, even despite the lapses defensively that he does still have too much.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about JD. So, yeah, I agree with you, man. Like, look, I don't want to talk about the defense because the defense, everyone already knows about the defense. Like, I don't need to keep talking about that. I want to talk about the positive stuff with JD because that is what makes him special, like you say. It's what makes him when you see him do the things that makes him special, it's what makes you say, my God, man, he's only 21 years old. Imagine what's going to happen in 4 years. We saw him in this game against the Orlando Magic. The Magic had Goga Bitadze guarding him, and he was just abusing him. He was abusing him. And not just, he was abusing him on the offensive glass, but he was also then abusing him on dump-offs, just muscling him over and dunking on him. And the most intriguing part is the dribble drives from the top of the key. Gave him an in-and-out cross finish, lefty and one. Gave him another crossover finish, right hand at the rim. Another straight line drive in the half-court finish at the rim. There's not many bigs in the NBA that can do that. There's not many 5 men in the league that are as agile and as athletic and has the type of touch that Duran has to do that kind of thing while also being a good DHO guy, being a good passer. That is what makes Duran so special. And the first 4 games we talked about it. The last 2 games he had, or last 3 games, I think he's had 4+ turnovers. This past game he had 5. However, I feel like the first 4 games, when he would hit one dribble drive and it would go well, now he starts trying to spam it. And now you're not getting good results. Now you're getting him forcing it in traffic. He's turning the ball over. In this game, he did like 1,000 times better of a job of, okay, you're relaxing. Now I'm gonna hit you with this. I'm gonna go to the basket. Now you have to honor me. Now I can just keep doing DHOs. We're gonna keep doing what we're doing. Okay, a few plays go by. No, you're relaxing again. Now I'm gonna hit you again. Instead of back to back to back, I'm feeling good about myself. Let me force this, whatever. He did a much better job in this game of picking the spots and just tormenting the Magic. He obliterated Bitadze. He's going to be in his nightmares for the next few days. He just dominated him. And when he's that good offensively, and he showcases that off the dribble stuff, and it also helps that the Magic don't really have anyone that pulls him away from the rim as a 5-man, so he's allowed to stay in the paint and kind of just rim protect. That helps him a lot. You see why so many people like Jalen Duran. You see why he's so intriguing as an offensive prospect, because there's not many guys that can do that. And having that within your arsenal in the half court is another reason why the Pistons half court should not be that bad this year. They have multiple guys that can dribble drive, get to the rim, and kick out. We even saw him like a few games ago, multiple dribble drives kicking out to Isaiah Stewart in the corner for a 3. Like he can be special with that kind of stuff. And that is what makes him so intriguing, and why it is frustrating to see him have these downs, because you're like, we see these ups and then these downs. It's like, it's in there where you can just be so good.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think like the thing that's almost that I think that we forget about, and it's so easy to forget about because we both just waxed poetic about all of Jalen Duran's talents. The dude is averaging like 5 offensive rebounds a game. Like, he's one of the best rebounders. Like, that is so valuable, dude. That's so many extra possessions for your team. It's such a thing that other teams have to worry about. I mean, the more the team, just simple, like, a big storyline of the NBA season is how fast teams want to play. You know, after all the success of the Pacers and the Thunder, and the Pistons turning their season around with it, and the Rock. Like, there's so many success stories of, hey, and it's very obvious that the data very clearly bears out. Like, the earlier you go in the shot clock, the higher percentage you have to score. Like, that is just the facts. The more the defense is on their heels, the better. If you're making other teams legitimately commit to crashing the defensive glass, if that is like a legitimate concern that the opposing coaching staff has to think about every day before in the locker room before the game or before a playoff series, like, that can slow down that transition attack. So, okay, is Duran giving up a couple extra points defensively out there? Yeah, he is, as opposed to like your average starting center for sure. But if he can save us 2 points in transition, okay, right? Like, you just take what you can get. It's all like I said, a push and a pull. So I don't know. He's so talented, man. He is so talented, and like it's also one of those things where it's like, man, I really think Jalen Duran's going to work out. I just really want it to be here. I think it would be great if it's here. I watched the Pelicans the other night, and Derek Queen was playing, who I loved, and is likely going to cost. Well, I shouldn't say he's going to cost Troy Weaver and Joe Dumars their jobs. They're going to cost themselves their jobs. The draft pick itself, who it was, probably doesn't really matter. But like, what I loved about him so much in college was just what an unbelievable driver Derek Queen was. Just one of the best 6'10" drivers like that we've seen kind of in the college game in a while, especially as a freshman. His handle is all good. And then I'm sitting there watching that game, and I'm like, man, Jalen Duran's a hell of a driver too, and he's only 1 year older. So it's like that, like, he's still like a prospect, so to speak. Michigan is going to start like 4 guys older than Jalen Duran this year. I don't know. I've definitely like been as low as anybody on Jalen Duran. I feel like I was probably the first one on like Jalen Duran is too bad at defense for me to worry about Island, and I don't know. I feel like I was also one of the first people to hop off of it because the skills that he's displayed this season, the highs, the good games that he's had, the way that he can dominate the glass, and like you said, just be a matchup problem. Batazi's a good defender, by the way. Mo Wagner is their offensive backup. Batazi's the defensive backup. The matchup problem that he creates, if he can be a guy where it's like, man, we just can't switch Cade during pick and roll because Duran is the problem. Like you can't switch any perimeter guy into Duran. If that ends up, where we're at, that's unbelievably valuable.
And he's shooting 84% from the free throw line. He's getting there 6.2 times a game. You know how it's so valuable to have somebody who can get offensive rebound, dunk on you, and then if you get offensive rebound, you're like, okay, we'll just foul him, send him to the free throw line. But then he's just automatic 2 points there too. So it's like anytime, it feels like almost any time Duran gets 2 feet in the paint and he has the ball, you're coming away with 2 points somehow. Somehow you're getting 2 points, whether it's a layup, a dunk, you fouling him. Now he's getting to the free throw line. He's hitting 2 free throws. Like he feels like he's automatically generating you 2 points anytime he touches the paint, which is so good. And the last thing I want to say, if there's anything else you want to say before we wrap up, because we are running a little long, but the last thing I'll say is this. The offensive rebound point that you mentioned, Duran does the same thing for Ausar that Ausar does for Duran. Like Ausar, when he drives, I pointed this out in a film breakdown yesterday, and I pointed out in the podcast yesterday as well. I'll probably point out again in a future breakdown this week. Ausar, even when he drives and misses, now obviously you don't want him to miss. Like you want him to be making all of his shots. And I will say before this game, this past game, we were shooting 68% on layups in the half court. Well, we were good. We were good. He's dealing with the flu game. But even when Ausar drives and misses, the simple fact that he's being this aggressive as a driver, it forces rotations, forces them to contest. And because Jalen Duran is such a good offensive rebounder, even if Ausar misses, you're forcing the big to leave, and now Duran's just getting easy cleanup. And then even same thing with Duran. When Duran does the same thing, Ausar is such a crazy good offensive rebounder and a putback guy that he does the same thing for Duran. Yesterday, we saw Ausar have a crazy putback one-hand dunk off the same type of thing. In the game where Ausar had those crazy putbacks at the end of the game and kind of helped Pistons close out, I pointed this out in the breakdown 2 days ago. Those two plays don't happen without Duran hustling for an offensive rebound right before Ausar gets it. Duran's hustling for the offensive rebound. One of them, he misses the shot. Then Ausar grabs it and finishes. And then the other one, Duran tips the ball up in the air. Then Ausar grabs it and he's able to finish. So having those two guys as just offensive rebound demons, it really catapults your half-court offense and opens up other things as long as you're aggressive. They're really good, man. If Duran can figure it out defensively and Ausar can continue to be as consistent as he's been, the Pistons should be fine within the half court. Is there anything else you want to say, Matt, before we wrap up?
Anything else I want to say? To your offensive rebound point, I guess like a cool addition to that people may not be thinking of is like Jaden Ivey is a particularly good offensive rebounding guard. Like that is one of his more, I guess, paved over skills now. And he made a real impact with that, like late in that, or I guess it was really in the middle of that Monty Williams season. I think like he kind of took a leap in that area. So, I mean, offensive rebounds are the new gold in the NBA. That's why all these teams are going double big. That's why, the Rockets outscored teams by 40 points per 100 possessions with Steven Adams and Şengün on the floor last year. Like that is the next, I guess, race. That's the gold rush now. It was shooting. Now it feels like it's offensive rebounds, and the Pistons are positioned pretty well for that. So I'm excited. I do just have one more, I guess, question or thing to bring up. Does it feel like Cade's handle got like substantially better?
At times, yeah.
I felt like that yesterday. I don't know, just with how he was getting to his spots, and obviously, the Magic have real defenders. And I wouldn't have been so confident last year that he would have been able to get to where he needed to get to with Jalen Suggs on him, And that's number one. That's area concern number one for Cade for me, like heading into the year.
No, yeah, he looked really good, man. Yesterday was a great game, and hopefully they continue to play like that moving forward, and we don't have any concerns with them, and they can string some good games along here. Thank you, Matt, for coming on the podcast, man. You guys can follow Matt over on Twitter at Griff1on1. I appreciate all of you guys making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. Check out the link down below, Substack Playback. You'll find me and Matt over on the Playback watching Pistons games live whenever I'm not credentialed. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there, and peace out, everybody.